Murderer who killed his 12-year-old son has been found dead inside of HMP Frankland. That's what I'm talking about in this video, as it's just popped up today in my news feed app. Now, he was 48-year-old when he committed this murder upon his own son, which was in December 2020. So he is now 52-year-old. And he's been found dead inside of his cell. It doesn't say exactly how he's been found dead, or exactly how he's died rather, but it is only coming to light now because it has been up in front of the coroner's office talking about this case. Because when it actually happened, or when he was actually found dead in Frankland prison, it wasn't broadcast on the news then. It's only coming to light now. But the reason why I'm bringing you these stories is because it's not shown in the mainstream media, and a lot of you love listening to this type of story. So in 2020, Henry Bangs killed his 12-year-old son, Tony. They were living together in Blackpool, and he had 3 sons altogether living with him. There was a 10-year-old, 12-year-old Tony, and a 13-year-old. And Henry must have recently just split up with the boy's mother. And she's originally from Brighton. She moved back down to Brighton. And the boys were living with the father. And I think when it was up in front of the courts about who is going to have rights, or who the boys are going to be living with, and Tony said he wanted to go and live with his mother. So Henry, in his own sick mind, wanting to exact revenge, he has went on to strangle his 12-year-old son with a shoelace. Now imagine how that boy must have been feeling in the last moments of his life, being killed by the person who is supposed to protect you the most. Your father. Your father is someone who you look up to, someone who is your protector, and this despicable man has took his son's life away in the most despicable way, being choked to death by a shoelace. That must have been an horrendous way for that young boy to be taken out. But it's saying that the reasoning behind it is because his girlfriend had left him, and young Tony had said he wanted to go and live with his mum. And on the last phone call Henry had to the boy's mother, he turned round and said, "If you don't want me, then you're not having Tony." And that's when he went on to take his life. But there's more twists and turns in this case, because after he'd done this, he did flee. He left the house and he went on the run. And the boy's body was found with a bag over his head. And the other 2 brothers were the ones that actually came down, because they were upstairs, they must have been asleep. And these 2 poor boys found their brother dead. They were the ones that called for help. And as despicable as that man is, he gets even more despicable than what he already is by trying to push the blame onto the older boy. He denied this all along and blamed his oldest son, the 13-year-old boy. He tried to blame him for the murder. Didn't want to take responsibility for what he'd done himself. So he put that young boy, or them 2 young boys that found their brother dead, he put them through even more heartache and harm by trying to blame the 13-year-old. But obviously, they would have known it was Henry Bangs, the father, that actually committed this. But because of the allegations that he had made against his other 13-year-old son, the police would have had to investigate it, and they would have had to question the poor 13-year-old boy as to whether or not he was involved in this despicable murder. So that just goes to show what type of sick individual this Henry Bangs is, for doing all of these atrocious crimes and passing the blame on, or trying to blame his eldest son, just so he could try and get off in court. It did come up into trial and he did plead guilty eventually. But the young boy would have had to go through all this torment and heartache of having to come up to trial and rehearse what he's going to say and practice being in front of judges and juries. Because obviously a 13-year-old boy getting accused of his father and then obviously having to go through the trauma of going to trial to try and persuade the jury that he was telling the truth and his father was lying. But getting back to the headline of the story, he was found dead inside of HMP Frankland, but it is not releasing, it is not saying at the moment how he died, but when they did actually find him after he went on the run, he was taken into hospital after a failed suicide attempt. So, not from my understanding, but what I believe has happened in this case, because he was 48 when he happened and it was 4 years ago, so he's now 52-year-old. I'm coming to the assumption, or this is just what I'm assuming myself, that he's actually took his own life. Because, like I say, a 52-year-old, unless it was through heart failure or something else, normally at that age, you're fit and healthy still if you're looking after yourselves. But, like I say, I'm assuming he's committed suicide inside of Frankland, probably because of what he done, and maybe he's got remorse now, and he can no longer live with what he done to his 3 poor sons, 3 defenceless sons that were probably going through a hard time anyway, with the parents breaking up and having to be separated and trying to come to their own decision whether they wanted to live with the mother or the father. But that was taken away from them by the despicable murder that this gross man inflicted upon his children. But I just thought I would bring that to your attention, people, because like I say, it's just popped up today. And as I've told you previously, all these stories that I'm doing lately are all coming from my News Prison app. And I'll just pick whichever ones I think the viewers will find more interesting, because when I had a look this morning, there was about 30 different stories. I was going to do a couple of other ones, but I'll leave that one for further in the week, because like I mentioned, I'll pick out the ones that I think the viewers will find more interesting, and I'm sure you will all find this topic interesting, even though it is quite heartbreaking. Or I'll rephrase that, it's not quite heartbreaking, it is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for them poor boys, and it's heartbreaking for the poor mother. It's heartbreaking for all of that kid's family that was involved in this. So I do say, take a moment to spare some thoughts for that poor family and them poor boys, the heartache that they must have had to endure finding their brother like that, and then their despicable father. I've said that word a few times, but I'll keep on saying it because that's exactly what he is. But I'll leave that one there for now, people, and if you are enjoying the content, as usual, remember to comment, like and subscribe. Take care, everyone.